Hello and welcome to the Journal. I'm Steve Kendall. Cyberbullying has become more prevalent over the past several weeks, garnering a lot of attention in the wake of TikTok challenges with students throughout the nation, students being encouraged to harass teachers, destroy property, perform harmful acts, being pressured to misbehave. Our guest is Sherrika Myers, founder of Every One Voice Matters. It's a nonprofit organization that teaches kids about anti-bullying. We're going to talk about cyberbullying today. Sherrika, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to be with us here on Journal today.
Thank you for having me on today. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, could you talk a little about your background? Because obviously cyberbullying, we're going to cover a range of activities, but talk a little about yourself and how you came to be involved in this and made this basically your mission.
Sure. Like you said, I am the founder of Every One Voice Matters, but I'm also a children's book author. I am also the creator of Lil Herbie, the anti-bullying mascot, and also the founder of Lil Herbie YouTube series. And how I got here is kind of bizarre because all my life I never thought that I would be speaking in front of people. I grew up with a speech impediment that's called stuttering. And
Ah,
for those who do not know what stuttering is when you know what you want to say, but just unable to say it. And growing up like that, I myself had a lot of challenges as a kid.
mm,
I was laughed at, I was picked on, I was ignored. I even had it to where as though that I used to act like I couldn't hear just so I wouldn't
ah,
have to respond to people
mm,
because the kids was I was bullied. I
mhm,
was and so some of those challenges is stayed with me all through my adulthood. So I know what kids go through. I know what they go through on the outside and on the inside because I myself been through it as
ah,
well.
mhm. Now, before we get into details about things, has that gotten better for students or for kids who deal with this issue, who stutter now? Is it dealt with in a better way than it was, say, when you were growing up?
Well, they have different programs, which
Mhm.
they had programs back then as well. But growing up in a single family household, I wasn't
Mm.
my mother was not able to afford some of the resources.
Ah,
But I wouldn't say um better. They have better resources, but
mhm,
it's just that the way kids are doing things now are different from
mm.
when they did it back then. Now, cyberbullying. When I
Right.
grew up, the internet wasn't a huge thing. We didn't really have the internet.
Mhm,
So, but now kids are resulting to going to the internet and doing different things. So I would say it just changed,
mhm. Ah,
so, and it has gotten worse because now they have several different ways to
right.
bully kids.
Yeah, and I
So,
guess the other aspect of it is too, it seems very, well, because of just the ability to say something to somebody or do something and not have to be face to face with them, apparently makes it easier to cyberbully or to bully in general now because you're not confronting the person face to face. So yeah, it's like you can do it almost anonymously in a way, and yet still the impact is tragic and terrible when it happens that way.
correct, because some kids think and see when they do cyberbully that they can't get caught
Mm,
because they they not physically doing it. They're not physically there.
mm,
So some kids are resulting to cyberbullying because of that,
mm,
because they don't want to get caught. So they saying that if we doing over cyberbullying, we saying certain things or just doing certain things over the internet that is not bullying or they won't get caught.
mm.
So they just trying to do it a sneakier way.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about, and I know you talked about stuttering, we talked about cyberbullying too. Uh, what are some of the things when you go into classrooms or into situations where you're talking about this? What are the things you emphasize? What are the things you try to teach students? And of course, parents, of course, need to be involved in this as well. So, talk a little about some of the things that you do when you address this issue in schools or in other gatherings.
Well, when I go into schools, some people don't realize that whatever the issue a child may be having, maybe
Hmm.
it be stuttering or any other issue, people think that when they fix the outside, that child is healed,
Mm.
but that's not true. It's
Ah,
I mean, my program, I work from the inside out.
ah,
And
okay.
actually works together. So when I go in there, I talk to them about self confidence, self
Hmm.
esteem, good relationship building skills, knowing knowing that they don't have to fit in. Knowing that when they see themselves doing things just to be around other people, then those are the kids that they shouldn't be around. So I teach them the inner side building, the inner self building, and then when they get the outside building, it all works together.
Ah,
You see, so
mhm.
you can't teach a child, how to stand up for themselves. Like, well, you can teach them on the outside, but on the inside,
Yeah.
when they're not in front of you, then
Mhm.
they'll do certain things, to get away with it, or just certain things to make people think it's not affecting them,
Ah,
but it does because
right.
it affected me.
Yeah. Now, from an age group, are you talking students from elementary age through what's the range of students that you typically work with on this?
Well, I work with all kids
Hmm,
because
okay.
I'm also a certified life coach as well.
Hmm,
But I start at the elementary level
hmm,
because I said the elementary level is when they are taught.
hmm.
You are training them, you are teaching them. And then when they get to the middle school level, now they're learning, they're kind of getting it. Now when they get to the high school, now they are really applying it.
Ah,
So I teach all levels. It's just that on different levels.
mhm,
I have to work with each school differently, each
mhm.
age level differently based on that. So I teach all that from elementary all the way through high school. I even sometimes coach adults. So
Yeah.
yes.
Now, and when you talk about educating, and obviously, we talked about the students who are dealing with maybe for whatever reason, for low self-esteem, whatever that situation is, that internal situation. Does this also help educate people who are the people who are bullying, who may be bullying, to understand maybe that what the things they're doing aren't appropriate and how it affects other people? Does that get through to some of the people that might not be the ones being bullied, but are the people causing the real issue?
Yes, well, even when I go inside the schools, the people who was actually doing the bullying, I I talk to them and I let them know, think about how would you feel
Hmm.
if that was you? If you had certain issues that's going on and someone is making fun of you, laughing and teasing you, how would you feel? And also, and some people that's actually doing the bullying is they have deeper issues as well.
Hmm.
So I try to, encourage them to maybe think about some of the issues that they're dealing with, because there's a reason why you're bullying someone.
Ah.
I mean, you got that from somewhere. It's
Hmm.
something going on because nobody just want to just go out and just bully people.
Hmm.
So I try to tell them to try to get to the root of why they feel like they have to bully other kids.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we come back. Let's talk a little about that, because that's, if you can fix that, you can also basically help the people who are being bullied too. So back in
Correct.
just a moment with Sherrika Myers, the founder of Every One Voice Matters. We're talking about cyberbullying here on the Journal. Back in a moment. Thank you for staying with us here on the Journal. Our guest is Sherrika Myers, the founder of Every One Voice Matters. And we're talking about cyberbullying. And then in the last segment, I know, Sherrika, you made an interesting point. One of the things that you do is you go out and talk to groups and students, and in this endeavor, is to try and make the people who are doing the bullying try to get into why they do what they do. So talk a little about some of the methods you use with that, because obviously they're causing the problem, which then creates issues for the people that are being bullied. So is there a way you get into their head a little bit to find out why, to see if you can get them to understand why they're doing what they're doing and causing this bullying and this impact?
It's just a matter of asking questions. I don't when I talk with kids, I don't tell them.
Mhm.
I ask them is certain questions, and then when they answer one question, then based off their response, I ask them the next question, and then I mean, so I allow them to answer, and then
Hmm.
when they say a certain thing, I'm like, okay, so if you don't like that, then maybe so you have to get into their mind
Right.
to understand. So it is, I don't tell them. It's all about asking them what's the real issue,
Mhm.
or what's some of the challenges that you face
Hmm.
or have faced, and then allow them to answer, and then you'll be able. And then when you do that, it's so crazy that when I usually do that with kids,
Mhm.
then when they answer the questions, they're thinking like, well,
Oh.
maybe okay. And then they realize that is not nice. And if it was them, they wouldn't allow
Mhm.
that. And they realize that certain things are happening to them that they don't like. So why would you do that to somebody else?
Somebody else.
So it's just a matter of asking the questions and allowing them to actually answer.
Yeah. Now, when you ask them those questions, what are some of the responses? What would be? And I know there's nothing typical about any individual, but are there a few things that come up that are that constantly come up as to why maybe somebody, when you ask somebody, why do you do this, or why are you acting this way, that are more universal than others, things that in their
It's
lives that are consistent to more than just one individual?
Yeah, it's so funny. All depends on the age level. Some of the small, no, the older ones are asking me like, "Why are you asking me that?"
Mm. Yeah.
Because I'm like, "Because you're doing it."
Yeah.
Is I mean, then they'll ask me like, "Well, I'm asking you because you're doing it." I wouldn't know if I don't ask you.
Hmm.
And then and then so I get silly reasons like kids are teasing other kids
Hmm.
because they have something that another child don't have, or they look a certain way, they
Mm.
they sound a certain way, they do things differently. So it's all sorts of silly reasons. And then when I point out certain, so when I ask them the question, they answer, and then when I point out something that they're doing that may be silly to someone else or may look different to someone else, and I say,
Mm.
okay, so how would you like if
Right.
someone was to tease you on that? So it's so many different silly reasons,
Hmm.
but once I ask them, then they'll be like, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
It don't make sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's a good point. You get them to think about themselves,
Correct.
and it gives them a chance to maybe talk about something they hadn't really thought about as to why they do
Correct.
that. It's like, oh, yeah, that's an interesting point.
Mhm.
When you when you're done with your presentations and when you've gone to a school or you've gone to a group setting, something like that, do people typically come up afterwards and then ask you more questions, or say, gee, what can we do now? How do we, and I'm sure that when you're talking with them, you give them a lot of ideas, but what are some of the questions you get after you've done a presentation, where people want to say, gee, I've got something, you mentioned this and it made me think, here's a question for
Mhm.
you. Yeah.
Well, some of the kids, one kid, I did a presentation in Maryland,
Mhm.
and one of the kids after the presentation, the kid came up to me and gave me a hug and said thank you.
Ah.
He was one of the kids who was doing the bullying.
Mm.
He was one of the kids doing bullying. And then I had another kid come up to me, and it's so emotional, it's so sad sometimes that, when he realizes about self-love, he was being bullied,
Ah.
but he didn't understand why. He
Mm.
didn't know, he didn't understand self-love. He had so when I got up there and I explained to him, I told him my story, the challenge that I went through. He understood that it doesn't matter what other kids say.
Mm.
I mean, you have to live for you. So I have had several different. I have parents done contact because at the end I have my very own mascot as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I bring them out and I interact with the kids, and then I provide brochures. And some of the parents have called me and said that the kids came home and they saw this lady and she talked about
Mm.
bullying and things like that. So some parents have actually reached out to me, and I'm thinking because sometimes a child don't want to talk to their parents,
Mm-hmm. Sure,
don't
sure.
want to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
so I always tell them, you don't want to talk to somebody. At least they are getting it out. Is this the fact of them getting it out? And then
Mm-hmm.
who they talk to, then they can talk to their parents, but talk to somebody. So some parents have reached out to me and actually thanked me because they have never heard their child, respond to something like that. So I've had several different types of
Yeah.
responses.
Well, and that's another good point, because it it gives them some comfort zone to say, oh, I can talk about this to somebody, which then makes it easier to talk to their parents or their caregivers, whoever it
Right.
might be, about it. Whereas before they were like, well, maybe, yeah, they internalize it. You said you try
Keeping
to
it
get
in.
inside and get,
Hmm.
so that's another good point, that it says, oh, it's okay for me to feel this way, and then talk about it, just why I feel this way, and then that
Correct.
helps with the movement forward on this as well. When we come back, I know that you talked about the fact, yes, you do have you've got a mascot. You're also a children's book writer, which is interesting too. We can talk about that, and then you do have some tips and things for people to try to work their way through, especially when it comes to the online, the technology issue that we're confronting
Correct.
here. So when we come back, we can talk about all those things in just a moment here with Sherrika Myers on The Journal on WBGU PBS. Thank you for staying with us here on The Journal. Our guest is Sherrika Myers, the founder of Every One Voice Matters, and we've been talking about cyberbullying and from both sides of the issue, how to get to people who are bullying, and then of course, how to help folks who are being bullied. One of the things I noticed when I was looking through some of the material about your organization, you have a lot of instructional tips and ideas and things that people can do to hopefully help their kids understand, and when they're dealing with the internet, especially online situations, how to help students and kids deal with the fact that there's a lot out there on the internet, not all of it's good, and you have people who are using, as we talked about earlier, social media to do their bullying from long distance. So talk about some of the ways that parents can maybe at least mitigate some of the exposure to this and still allow their kids to have use of technology.
I always tell parents some of the tips. I always tell them limit the amount of time that they're allowing their child to be on the internet. Find other activities that's offline, and also start their day in with a morning check-in. When before the kids go off to school, talk to them, and when they come home, check on them, how their day went, things like that, and also instilling your child self-esteem, self-confidence, and things like that. And then also watch your child. If you see that your child is becoming getting anxiety when they have to check a text message, or when they have to go off to school, ask them, talk to them, stop them, because some kids don't say much, but and encourage your kids to talk to. If you know that you and your child have a conversation, a good relationship, but try to build that relationship with your child and encourage them to talk to somebody instead of leaving it in, holding it in.
Yeah, and so and I know as I look through all of the material and things you have online, obviously the word here is communication, both ways, all ways, from all different directions. Communicate, be inquisitive about what your child is feeling, thinking, doing, whatever, and sort of keeping, and I know we don't want to look over their shoulder every minute, but at the same time, you need to have some awareness of what their life is like and what's going on. So that's good material.
Communication is the key, the number one key.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. And now, you mentioned earlier, of course, when you go out, you do have a mascot. So talk a little about that, and then also we want to talk a little about the Little Herbie series, because that's a big part of what you do.
Little Herbie, our anti-bullying mascot, is a mascot that I actually birthed 2 years ago. And even though the mascot, he looks like my grandson. I have a grandson named Little Herbie Stutters as well. And he looks like my grandson, but the real true mascot is me. It's the child that has been inside of me for so long, that dealt with bullying and that dealt with low self-esteem, self-confidence. And I finally decided to birth him and bring him to life. And he interact with kids every time we go to schools, different community events. I just wanted kids to have someone that they can relate to, a character that actually been through some of the challenges that they've been through, and now he's here and he's doing better. He's here to fight the world against bullying.
Well, and then it's another opportunity for the child to communicate in a way that makes them feel comfortable. Not, should I say, should I do this or shouldn't I? Should I say something? Shouldn't I? It opens that door and then allows them to expand from there on what they're dealing with or want to talk about. So yeah, and now and you've got the this whole book series which deals with anti-bullying and stuttering awareness and that sort of thing. So talk about the Little Herbie book collection.
The Little Herbie book, the book series, is actually geared towards social emotional learning. And social emotional learning are tools that kids can use inside and outside of the classroom to become successful. It deals with good relationship building, social awareness, self-esteem, things of that nature that help build a child inside and outside. In my book series, we have a whole, and now there's in English and Spanish as well. I'm going to be able to relate to all kids. So I wanted to create a book series that kids can relate to and that can help them build their inner self and their outer self as well. And that's why we have the Little Herbie series book collection.
Yeah. And again, another avenue, another means to
Yeah.
reach out and communicate with people. I know that, and not to pat ourselves on the back, but PBS Kids programs have begun and have for some time, but have increasingly incorporated kids that aren't just standard cookie cutter kind of kids with maybe a physical challenge, or kids with these other issues. So this dovetails right into that, or is another means to do that. And you talked about, as we've talked about this, and we've got just a moment or two here. If you wanted to leave people with 2 or 3 things to do today to check on their kids, to make sure that, see if how they're doing, how are they feeling, to kind of get sort of take a barometer reading on how's my child doing today, what would be the first couple of things you'd want to do this afternoon when a child comes home from school, let's say?
Talk to your kids. I mean, I can't say enough. And sometimes a child, you never know what a child is going through. Just a matter of your child come in the house and you can ask them, how was your day? It can change their mind frame at the drop of a dime, because you don't know what they went through, or just a matter of giving them a hug. That can change a child mind from going in the room, committing suicide, doing something to actually hurt themselves. Because we as parents, we care about our kids. Our kids know that, but it's another thing to say it, to actually tell it, to actually say, hey, how you doing today? How was your day? A kid who was being bullied, picked on, or is different, have issues that they may be going through. Just asking them how is their day can mean so much to them. And I know that because I've been through it. And our goal is to help kids at a young age, not wait until they get my age and develop self-esteem and self-confidence, because I went through my life like that. I mean, just because of the things I've been through in my childhood, and that will affect a child all the way through life. So as a parent, when your child come home, it don't matter if they smiling or whatever, you never know, because a smile can be a block.
Right.
It can be, they just smiling, but you never know, hey, I love you. How are you? Or, you look nice today. Something. Tell your child something every day that will let them know that they are special. It doesn't matter what other people say, that they are special. And that despite who don't accept them, who say crazy things, look, I'm going to tell you. If nobody else is going to tell you, your parent is going to tell you. So that can save a child's life. People don't. It's the little things, not the huge. It's little tiny little things that a parent or anyone can do to a child that can change their whole objective on life.
Wow. Yeah, just
So
something that simple.
Something that simple.
And so easy to overlook, though. That's the
Correct.
problem. So good. Well, Sherrika Myers of Every One Voice Matters, thank you so much for talking with us about cyberbullying and all of the other things too. And of course, people can find information about you online very easily. You can simply Google your name. You'll see everything about Every One Voice Matters, the Little Herbie series of books, and all of your ideas about how to deal with cyberbullying and help kids build self-esteem who may be having a difficult time doing that. So thank you so much for being with us here on The Journal.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, you can check us out at WBGU.org, and of course, we'll see you again next time on The Journal. Good night and good luck.